All right. Ever gone down a scrolling rabbit hole and looked up 45 minutes later wondering, what planet are you on? I know I have. Today, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the downright ugly when it comes to how we spend time on our beloved phones. And listen, we're not here to shame anyone. We're all human, we're all tired, and sometimes the phone is the easiest escape route.
Why do we keep going back to quick fixes, even when we know they don't work?
Welcome to the Coach's Hotline. Glucose, grit, and grace. Real talk with coaches, no sugarcoating.
We're here to help you ditch the diet cycle, stabilize blood sugar, and finally feel at home in your body.
Because health isn't about restriction. It's about freedom, energy, and confidence.
Let's dive in.
What if we're claiming just a few minutes of that scrolling time that could help us walk more, sleep better, or cook that balanced plate that we've been talking about doing for so many days? That's what we're going to dive into today. All right, ladies, so many of my clients have told me that if I could just stop scrolling on my phone, I could do X, whatever that may be. So I've always been interested in this. So we did a little bit of research. I did a little bit of research around the scrolling and how addictive that can be and what it is that we're looking for. But before we get in to the research, let's lighten things up a little bit. I'm just curious, what is the weirdest place or situation you've caught yourself scrolling on your phone? For me, it might be when I'm in a conversation and my mind just drifts just a little bit. And the first thing I think about is, oh, I wonder what's on my phone. I wonder what's come through. And I'm really trying not to look at it. I've noticed that a few times where I will have a conversation, especially with my husband, and I can tell it's like he's biting his tongue to not say something because he really wants to look at his phone because it binged. And he's just looking at me, let's not turn my head. So that phone ties us so closely. So what about you guys? What are some of those situations that you've been in?
I've scrolled in weird places. I think there's a study that says that a lot of people are having lower leg problem from sitting on the toilet and scrolling too long.
Oh, really?
They're losing blood circulation in their legs. But really the example that I thought of is actually last week, my husband and I were like, hey, we're like two ships passing in the night right now. He's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing. Let's go out to lunch and reconnect. So we went out to lunch and we ordered our meal and we sat down and we both just picked up our phone and just started scrolling. And about 5 minutes in, I'm like, wait a minute. This is not what we intended. We could have been doing this at home.
Right.
If we're out to lunch to spend time together, let's spend time together. So we both in our pockets. But how easy it is just to fall into that mindless, numbing thing that we do.
It is. What about you, Amber?
Well, I was just going to say, it feels like it's become a way of life. And mine is kind of embarrassing in the sense that I'm doing some substitute teaching a couple of days a week, which I love. But I've caught myself scrolling at school when kids are in the room. And when I first started teaching a couple of decades ago, cell phones were really just mostly phones, right? We texted on them, but that was their purpose. And so to even have your phone out and visible was a hard no. You were praying that your principal didn't come in, even if you were using your phone for the timer. But now they've truly become a part of our existence. And the other day, some students, and they were quietly working, and without even thinking about it, I picked up my phone and I just started scrolling. And I luckily was like, after about a minute, I realized what I was doing. And I was like, oh my God, 20 years ago, I would have been appalled at that behavior in myself. You know, was really taken aback over how just natural it felt. Oh, I have a second to breathe. Let me pick up my phone. And I think that's becoming really ingrained in our culture.
It is. So our listeners, you can see that we're all in this together. Yeah. We all have this. But what we want to look at is there are some good uses for our phones and our devices. they definitely support us in many ways. So let's start with the good, because like I said, they are truly very helpful to us. And I know a lot of times I don't know where I'd be without my phone. They give us support. They can help us support our health. They can help get us to places. My husband and I went on a vacation and we drove for the first time. And it was a long drive. It took us 2 days to get there. And when my husband and I first got married, a week after we got married, he was in the Air Force. He had to go to a leadership training in Alabama. And this is before cell phones. This is even before maps. So newly married, I wanted to go down to see him. I took off in my car and drove from Ohio to Alabama. I had no maps. I had a paper map driving to Montgomery, Alabama. So phones have been great, because we were talking about that when we were on our trip just a couple months ago and going, how did we get here before this? How did we do all of this? So there are some really good purposes for our phones. And they do help us. They help us support our health. They help us to get to places. They're not villains, but we have to remember how we use them. So Elaine, what are some positive ways that you've seen people use phones, maybe specifically for their health, instead of as a distraction?
So before we jump into health, I want to piggyback on your story about using maps, because we lived in Washington, D.C. for a while. And I actually cried when we were moving to Washington, D.C., because I'm from a small town, and driving in that D.C. traffic freaked me out. It was in the early 2000s, so maps were kind of new, but we did have GPS in our car, and it was just, I was so thankful to have that tool to lower my stress. So phones can lower our stress. They increase our stress, certainly, but they can lower our stress by giving us tools that make life easier. So your story just made me think of that, and I had a little panic moment. I really love to use my phone and my watch combined for measuring my sleep and understanding how deeply I'm sleeping, or my health stats. And so my phone and my watch work together to do that. And I think that gives me a lot of good information for my health. So that's one good way to use it. I also, both me and my clients, we have apps that we use for exercise routines so that we can do our cardio or Pilates or yoga or whatever. And there's a lot of apps that are free that allow us to have really good workout programs. So there's no excuse not to work out. And then one of my favorite ways to use the phone when I first started eating PFC3, and also my clients do this when they're new, is to set that alarm for every 3 to 4 hours. Because when you're first learning to eat to balance your blood sugar, you're not hearing the cues from your body. And so you have to do something to remind yourself that you need to fuel so that your body can have what it needs. Those are my favorite ways regarding health to use my phone.
Right. Amber, how about you? Have your clients, do they use any of the tech that help them make progress?
Yeah, absolutely. I have 2 online communities. One is public for people that are just interested in health and wellness. They have opportunities to ask Coach Amber a question. I also post some educational things and videos. And then I also have one that is private for just my clients. On these platforms, they have direct access to me, especially my clients. They get support from me as well as from the larger community. If you think about the ecosphere of Facebook, where you can throw a question out there and 20 million people can answer, which is sometimes not always a great thing. But in this online platform, they're all there for the same reason. And so it's a really collaborative, supportive, like, you know what? I had that same issue, and here's how I fixed it. And then we get to have conversations, and having that app on our phone so that it can really happen pretty fluidly through little pockets during the day. It's not like everybody has to sit down at the same time and we have to have this big meeting. It allows for informal communication and really supporting each other. So it's kind of like a support in your pocket. And I love that.
Yeah, I agree. When we can get that support from those apps, and that helps us to get the information that we need. Someone's going to have an answer to a question. In that respects, our phones are absolutely part of our wellness toolbox. They can help us in so many ways. As long as they don't take over the whole toolbox, that's the key part of it. So now let's talk about the bad, when scrolling actually causes us more stress versus maybe really helping us. So sometimes some of the stuff we don't really notice can feel so harmless. Interesting stat that I found. Adults spend 3 to 4 hours a day on their phone, and up to 5 to 6 hours if you count your tablets. So that was kind of boggling to me. It was
like a quarter of your day.
Yeah. And then the other stat was if you add that up, it equals 45 to 60 full days a year is spent scrolling. And I don't think we realize we spend that much time on it.
Mm-mm.
So a lot of us may spend that time if we're working, because I know when I was in the corporate world, everything came through my phone. All right. And that's fine. There's a purpose there. It's part of your toolbox. It may free you up for other things, but 45 to 60 days a year?
It's like 2 months.
Yes, absolutely.
Crazy.
So I was really amazed by that stat. So Amber, I'm going to go to you.
Okay.
When does scrolling shift, do you think, from entertainment into an emotional escape? What does that look like?
That's a really great question. I really think, and I am not immune from this, I think it's truly become a coping mechanism. Scrolling is definitely a way to tap out. Absolutely found myself scrolling when I'm feeling overwhelmed and I just need to take a brain break and disengage. Like I will literally in my brain go, I just need to take a break from thinking. And then scrolling on my phone allows me to take that break, albeit not necessarily the most healthy way to take a brain break. But
Right.
I think we use it as a coping mechanism more often than we realize.
We do. I know I've done that too as a way to escape. It's like, I just want to get away from things. So let me just play this game for like a round. Okay.
Hours later.
Yeah. I know we were in a coaching group together. Coaches need coaches too. And I know at one point I went down that rabbit hole and I just had to be done, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I don't want to spoil it. But one of the things that we found is that people don't realize a lot of times when we're scrolling social media, especially, that we get these little hits of comparison and negativity. And do you know what that does to us? It spikes our cortisol, right? And we've talked about what cortisol does. And when our cortisol is spiked, we end up with cravings. We don't sleep very well and more stress. So that stress plate goes up, which is, again, going to raise our cortisol. All right. So we really need to be careful around all of that. We talked about energy leaks. What do you think scrolling steals from us most? Attention, peace. What do you think?
Gosh, all of the above. I mean, but I was just, as you were talking about that scroll and the stress that it causes, especially because I post a lot of things about coaching and health and such. And so my algorithm starts showing me those things. And then I start looking at what everyone else is doing. And I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not doing enough. Yes. Oh my gosh, I should, it really just starts to overwhelm me. And I feel like my chest constricting and my heart beating faster. And I'm like, okay, I have to put this down because this is not a healthy feeling. So I think very quickly it can steal our peace. And if we're in our phones because we're not in a good headspace anyway, I think that just like that, maybe the depression or the anxiety or the angst that we're feeling about something. But I also think it steals our time. We talked a little bit, alluded to already, that we can spend an hour or two scrolling and we look up and it's like, I've just been doing this for 10 minutes. And all of a sudden you missed your last meal and your appointment because you didn't pay attention to the time.
Right.
I think one of the worst things that happens is our relationships suffer.
Yes.
Because we can be sitting right next to somebody. I've seen groups of teenagers sitting in a room, and my husband and I do it all the time too. We'll be sitting right next to each other and we'll be on our phone, and we'll be laughing and sending each other reels. It's like life be so much more full if we had conversations instead of just sending each other videos.
Yeah.
So,
And I think,
I was just going to say it drains energy, it causes fatigue, it disrupts our sleep. There's so many physiological things that happen to us because of excess screen time.
Yeah. I know sometimes, because my office is upstairs, my husband's office is downstairs. And I don't know how many times I'm like, oh, I don't want to go down those steps. So I'll text him and I'm like, how stupid is this? I don't live in a mansion, obviously, but you know, it or not, think about those steps that I could have gotten, you know, physiologically, just movement. And when you start looking, you talked earlier about how we use those health apps. Do that as well with my watch. And when I look at the end of the day and I have only gotten 3,000 steps in for that day, it's like, should have taken those steps and walked downstairs to go tell my husband whatever I needed to tell him. You know, I think that's part of where we get in that too, is we just end up taking the easy way out. You know, it does affect us, you know, movement standpoint.
Truly.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so that kind of back into our habits. It definitely ties back into our habits. When we pick up the phone automatically, we lose those little windows of when we could have been doing something to help support our body. We could have been doing a 5-minute stretch. I can tell you right before this, I had I think it was like minutes is what it said, because before I had to dial, I went and walked around my living room. Okay. So you did 5 minutes. I have no idea how many steps I have, but I really feel more energized by that. And what did that 5 minutes do? Instead of scrolling on my phone, looking at my social media, you know, I was able to get those steps in. So I could have done a stretch. I'd like to do from my kitchen counter. They're awesome. And you can get 10, 20 of those in a day. You might be able to do some prep for your dinner that night. I can tell you, I don't necessarily like to cook. And it's not because I can, it's just because all of that prep work feels overwhelming to me. So if I took a little bit of that time and chopped up the vegetables or just did one step of what I wanted to cook for dinner that night, that's going to take off some of that relief. Or honestly, just drinking some water. So go out. If you're having trouble getting some of that hydration, get a small glass of water or a glass of water. Drink that down, then go do what you needed to do. And I think that's part of the reasons that we have issues right now, is because we're just sitting there looking at our phone, scrolling, comparing, other stuff.
Numbing, right?
Yes.
We're just we automatically reach for it. We numb it. We don't even realize that we've done it. And so we're not being intentional. And when we're not intentional about something, we're not intentional about other things as well.
Yeah.
Right? So you can kind of flip that and maybe think about, how can I be intentional right here instead of numbing?
Yes, absolutely. Now let's talk about the ugly. So that was the not so good. But what about the ugly? Can it get any worse? The big impact that we don't really see. The part that none of us want to admit to. So again, back to some of those stats. Studies show that 1 in 3 adults check their phones within the first 5 minutes of waking up.
That's me out of me too. I don't know.
And most of us scroll before going to bed as well. And
Awesome.
What does scrolling before going to bed do? It can delay our sleep by 20 to 30 minutes.
Wow.
That blue screen, it's that adrenaline rush you might be getting. It's that cortisol spiking that's going to delay our sleep. So if the average person is missing or losing 45 to 60 days a year to scrolling, what would you do with an extra month? What would you guys do?
I would take a trip. If I had extra time, man, I'd go see a national park or go see a friend in Florida or, so many. Are important to me. So instead of thinking I have connections over a phone, I would much rather go see somebody in person.
I agree. I could think about how many quilts I could finish in 45 to 60 days. And what about you, Amber? Let's pretend that scrolling is and we know we don't count calories, right? We all had a scrolling budget. So again, with the time, How would you spend yours?
I love that. You kind of answer both questions. I think if I got 2 months, I'm going to spend one of those months working a little bit more that probably I'm avoiding, make some money so that I can take a month off.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing.
Doesn't it?
In the idea of really having like a budget, a scrolling budget, I use my phone a ton for my coaching business, connecting with clients, and content. So the realm of where we are and what we talk about, I liken that to feeding my body in business. Taking care of business when I'm connecting with clients, when I'm posting educational content, things like that. But when it shifts over to doom scrolling, which is so easy to do, it's like I'm feeding my soul. And we all know that while feeding our soul is necessary, feeding it more than we are feeding our body, whether it's our physical body or our work body, can really be very detrimental. So I find that I need to be very intentional with my phone use. It is so easy to shift from I'm working to I just checked out and I don't often notice. So I am truly a work in progress, I will say.
Me too. Yeah, totally agree. I don't know how many times I'm doing this for work, for my business and stuff, checking on messages from my clients. And all of a sudden it's, let me go to Amazon and let me do some shopping, or let me check, oh wait, I haven't checked this person on Facebook recently. Let me see what's going on there. And here I am then scrolling Facebook and Instagram and everything else. Because it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. Let's click this. Let's watch this.
Yeah.
Do
I do that all the time. It's like I pick up my phone to check on a client or something. And all of a sudden I'm in Facebook and I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't even do the thing that I intended to do when I picked up the phone.
I do that all the time.
I'm like, why am I here? How did that happen?
I know. And then I forgot why I went on my phone.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what was I going to
gonna
do? I had a reason. It's amazing how it just kind of out. I don't know. I guess kind of in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I think so. Yeah. It's the idea of allowing it to tap out.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
So the thing is, a great visual for all of us. Scrolling isn't the enemy. Mm-hmm. Okay. Our phones are not the enemy. It's the unconscious scrolling that is, though. The stuff that we were just talking about, you go in to check something or to see how someone's doing or to comment to someone or to ask how they're doing, whatever it may be. And then we kind of down that rabbit hole of like, oh, look, there's a sale. I can go do this. Oh, look, this new recipe that just came up for the holidays. That might be good for this. Oh, now I need to go buy the ingredients. Oh, well, I don't want to. And we're just everywhere. Mm-hmm. That's where we get into trouble, is that unconscious scrolling.
Yeah.
We need to look at turning that scroll time into support time. All right. How can we just take a small amount of that time and use it for something else? So let's kind of about the rebalancing. You guys know I like rebalancing versus resetting. We're not about perfection. All right. We're never going to be perfect. All right. We're not made to be perfect. And the outside world doesn't allow us to be perfect all the time, if ever. We're about the awareness and the tiny pivots. All right. So let's share one tiny shift that people can make today to reclaim some of that scrolling time without having to throw their phones in the river. All right. What do you guys think?
So, use my phone a lot for business, but I have ADHD. And so I will hop onto YouTube and pull up like a focus beats to listen to while I'm working. What I had found was when I keep my screen facing me, then I see every notification, whether it's news or a text, and shiny object girl right here will pay attention to every bit of it. And then the fact that I put the focus beats on really is not important anymore because I had no focus. So what I've started doing is I turn my phone upside down. I turn my notifications off, and so I can't hear it. And then I turn it upside down. So it's not in my peripheral vision. I have the capacity to listen to the focus beats and get my work done. And that really helped. Then I'm intentionally only using it for what I needed it for, and I'm not subject to the accidental, I clicked on Facebook because my brain was on autopilot, and here I'm now
Yeah.
scrolling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's awesome. I like that.
Those focus beats sound interesting.
It's good stuff. Oh, you know what? The other thing I do is if I'm going to be intentional, like do need a break, but I only want a 15-minute scroll on my phone or playing a game, I set an Alexa timer. And then when she goes off in 15 minutes, which never feels like 15 minutes, it feels like 5 or less.
Mhm.
Right.
But then I go, oh, okay, it's my 15, check. And then it takes discipline to make sure that you get back to work, but it
Right.
definitely makes me very aware of how much time has passed. And then that's another level of intentionality. So
Yeah.
And I love that, being intentional about it. And then also listening to the cue when it says it's time to turn
yes.
it
Yeah.
off. So I do a similar thing in that when I'm really focused on business, I do something called the Pomodoro method, which you do
Yes.
like 25 minutes of really focused work, where I
Yes.
put my phone on airplane mode actually, so nothing comes through. And then you take a break. And so I do like those in an hour. And my first break, I'll make like emails or, Facebook or something. Then my second break, I'll make sure that I'm up and moving around. So I'll go get some
Yep.
water and everything. But just then my third break, my third Pomodoro, I make sure that I'm standing while I'm working so that I'm not sitting for an hour at a time. But the point is similar to you, Amber, where being intentional about it, not saying, oh, it's a good or bad thing, because we don't do good or bad, right?
Mm-mm.
We
Right.
do intention and balance. And
Yeah.
so yourself a time limit is very, very good. And then I also make sure that I at night, like if we're watching a movie at night, I make sure I don't have my phone with me because I don't want to double task it because I don't think that's good for your brain. Or I'll read at night instead of scroll my phone, so that I feel like reading does better things for your brain than passively.
Right. Yeah.
I swap out.
I totally agree. And I love the Pomodoro for those. Look up Pomodoro. I used to do that with my IT teams because they were so focused on what they were doing, and they wouldn't get up for hours if they were doing testing or developing something. And that's not always good. So as a group, as a team, we had a timer in our room and we set it for 50 minutes. Could do 50 minutes, and then we had 10 minutes where they could get up, get a cup of coffee, just walk around the room. They didn't have to do it for 10 minutes, but just give themselves a break. And it was so powerful. And it was like, it also cleared their brain. You'd be surprised how doing something like that can clear your brain. And I will tell you, scrolling was not part of that. People weren't allowed to scroll. So, maybe they needed to, but they were on their phones anyway. So, yeah.
Well, I want to piggyback on that a little bit from a teaching standpoint. You're giving your brain a break every 25 to 30 minutes. You're actually giving your brain a chance to process and learn what you were just going over. So a lot of value between an 8-hour stint of learning. You are going to get so much more out of it if you've broken it up into 25-minute segments where you did get up, walk around, have a glass of water, like that. Then I was also going to add, that on YouTube, use a really great resource, not only for our podcast, but free content, Pomodoro method, many timers that actually come with really great focus music.
Yes.
You can do piano, you can do jazz, you can do energy beats, whatever kind of speaks to you, but the timer is embedded in it. And so you can just listen to it, sometimes with headphones, depending on if you're doing binaural beats, but that's a really great free resource. So if it's something that you think might be a good fit for you, try it out. It's free. And there's a lot of different choices depending on what your musical taste is.
I know, because it is a very useful tool that you can have. Well, one of the things to remember, one of my favorite rules around scrolling is to only scroll when you're sitting, when you're satisfied, and when you're settled. Standing in the kitchen while you're snacking and scrolling, your mind's not on it. Not be lying awake at midnight. So basically, that's what I'm trying to say. If you're lying awake at midnight and you pick up your phone to scroll, that is only going to delay your going to sleep.
Yeah.
Right? Because that adrenaline starts pumping, and your heart starts pumping, and you're not relaxing. You might get into that comparison mode, like we talked about earlier, that social media can do. So don't put that phone up. Don't pick that phone up. Okay. And the best thing to do is lay there, clear your brain.
Yeah.
All right. Trying not to think about anything. And I know I will fall asleep much quicker that way. And sometimes it's a way of avoiding your to-do list.
Yeah.
It is.
That's why we're saying the 3S rule: sitting, satisfied, and settled.
I like that.
Right. So then you're not necessarily I'm not saying you're not going to go down those rabbit holes, but it's not like you're looking for something to do that. So even reclaiming 10 minutes a day, just 10 minutes a day, gives you 60 hours a year.
Wow.
All right. 60 hours a year. So you're reclaiming, what is that, 3 days?
It's a week and a half of work week at 8 hours a pop. That's crazy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So just think about those little bits and pieces. Like, you guys know we're about 1%. All right. So reclaiming those little pieces is going to give you back so much time and allow you to do certain things that are going to keep those plates spinning, to have you move, to reduce your stress, to focus on your nutrition, get better sleep. Those supplements of maybe what you need to eat. And I'm not talking supplements from a vitamin standpoint, but maybe it's a sauna, maybe it's meditation. You're all supplements. So looking at all of that going to help you. So just give us even 1 minute a day. All right. We're going to do a quick lightning round. And I know one of these I think is interesting. I actually looked at mine earlier. First thing that comes to mind when you hear these statements. So which apps trap you the fastest?
Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. It's the first one that always opens.
Yep.
Yeah. For me, I have one game on my phone, and it's Grand Harvest. All right. And I can tell you that I have to be really careful. I had to take it off of all of my other devices. I will sit there and say, I'm going to play one game. And then I end up an hour and a half later and it's still playing. It's like, I'm going to wait until I've used up all of these points. And then they give me more points. You
Of
know?
course. It's like Vegas.
Right.
It is, exactly. Your screen time number for today. So I know it's morning time for us. And when I looked at my screen time for me, it's like 11, almost noon for me. My screen time today has been, I think it said an hour and 30 minutes. Oh, an hour and 11 minutes. All right. So I have been up since 7 o'clock, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've been up for 5 hours. And of that, an hour and 11 minutes has been on my screen. Okay.
That make you feel?
At first it was like, oh, wait a minute. But I will tell you, part of that was posting to my social media, which I do every day. That wasn't a lot of it though. So it was like, okay, what was that time? If you guys look at your phone, I know on an Android phone, I'm an Android person, they actually have a tab called Digital Wellness. Take a look at it. I'd love to know. You guys comment. On Android, it's in your settings.
Oh, okay.
And it's called Digital Wellness and Parental Controls.
I don't want to know. I just looked up to see what my was, and it's not even turned on because I'm like, I don't even want.
You can also set timers in there that says how long you can stay on Facebook. It tells you which app you've been on. So I will tell you, I think mine said, Facebook was my biggest. So it's not even my game that I said. It was Facebook. 30 minutes on Facebook this morning. And I can tell you that wasn't my posting because I post on Instagram.
Yeah.
All right. So I have to admit, I've gone down that Facebook hole. But if I didn't know that, okay, so what was I looking for? I have no idea.
Yeah. I have 33 minutes today on Facebook and I wasn't working.
Yeah.
I guarantee that.
Yeah. Again, if we can just reclaim 1 or 2 of those minutes, you know.
Remember, look at it as data, not guilt.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's just a data point.
Yeah.
But if we want to do better for ourselves, then we can look at that data point and make a goal based on, well, maybe tomorrow it will only be 20 minutes.
Yeah. And then I will say one of the things that I did is, because one of the lightning round things I are here is, what app could you delete tomorrow without missing it? And I know it's my game. I could delete that.
Mm.
I do not download any other games on my phone. I know a lot of times when I get updates, it automatically downloads them. The first thing I do is I delete them. I don't even go into them. Yeah. I know I could delete my game. I also know I can reload it. So I know I would reload it. But I will say, though, because I don't know if anybody plays Grand Harvest, you get like every day. And I can tell you that I have never gone the whole like days and gotten all of the rewards. So I know I don't play it every day. And usually if you don't play it, then you go back to the beginning of the week. And I know I've not been able to get past day 14. So that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not 30.
Call that a win.
Exactly. What about you guys?
I have a very old version of Scrabble, like when it first came out, where there's like nuts or anything and it's not connected to the internet, so you can't play with friends. And I'm like, I will never get rid of that app because if I ever download it again, I'll have to have ads.
Yeah.
So, I love to play that because word games, I feel like keep my brain working. It's not numbing. But a rabbit hole I did fall down that I had to just delete the app. It's the stupidest game, but it was had to like put numbers that equal 10.
Oh yeah.
In a box and then they go away. And then I don't know why I got into that. It was in 2020 actually, when none of us had anything to do. And I was sitting with my dad. He was in hospice at the time. And so we weren't having conversations or anything. And I would just spend hours doing that. And I'm like, I did not even like the way I felt after I did it. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't like it, but I can't stop it.
Right.
And so I just finally had to delete it. I'm just like, I don't even want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any for you that you could delete tomorrow?
Yeah, I love them. I also know that I have the capacity to bring them back. I also love like games. So like ones where it says that, 3 pink dots and you got to figure out where they go. I do love those. I feel like it challenges my brain a little bit. I'm also cognizant of the fact that if I don't set a timer, I will spend longer on it than I intend to. And I also know that Alexa should probably get rid of her snooze function. Because she doesn't mind when I snooze my alarm. She gives me 10 more minutes.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. That impacts more than just our gaming stuff. But.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. All right. So folks, we hope you've learned that the phone isn't your problem. All right. It's the autopilot that we fall into. We can just interrupt that pattern for just a little bit. That's where habits come in. So we talk about making habits, but we also sometimes have to break those habits. And if we can break that pattern or interrupt it for just a short period of time, that's going to free up that time and that energy and that peace that can help us get us to the goals we want to be.
Yeah.
Start small. We want to stay curious. We want to keep our minds growing and moving and supple and learning and everything, but give yourself grace. And if you reclaim just a few minutes today or tomorrow, sugar, that's a win. So let's get those wins. So I want to thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Coach's Hotline, Glucose, Grit, and Grace. And if you found just one little bit of information that was helpful, please comment below, let us know, and don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. We'll see you next time with no sugarcoating. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.